It is, as far as the crush scenario is, harvesting, picking grapes. We've got 3 tons of Mourvedre from Santa Barbara County that we're picking on Thursday of next week, and that's it. So the fact that we have 95% of our fruit picked already by now is just remarkable. It's never happened. In the 20 years I've been harvesting fruit, I don't think I've ever really brought in more than a ton or two before the end of September, and most of it in the end of October and early November. So I don't know if you heard about our weather pattern that changed this year. We had, I think it was 14 days over 105 with night temperatures in the 80s, which accelerated our ripeness and just brought it all in. We had no choice but to start picking fruit earlier than we ever have before. Rhone, and I think our program this year is just over 1/3 Pinot Noir. We make 100% varietal Mourvedre from a 100-year-old Mourvedre vineyard that's all dry farmed in the Limekiln Valley, which is in the back of the Gavilan Mountain Range. And that's what we call our Enns Mourvedre. It was the Enns was the family that owns the vineyard, and it's 100% dry farm Mourvedre. So it's the only Mourvedre that we don't blend is in that wine. Oh, yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I would call it sort of, from us being the center point, maybe a 300-mile circle, from Santa Barbara to Monterey.
Right.
And I've had to, over the last 2 months, do nothing but I think I put over 10,000 miles on the truck in 3 or 4 weeks. And that was going to vineyards, testing fruit, looking at the weather, deciding what the weather is going to do over the next week or two, dropping off boxes, trying to manage the tonnages and what some vineyards are down 80%, some of them had full yield. So it was trying to get all that managed was in the short time frame was not a lot of sleep. And leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning, and 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row, it starts to wear on you a little bit. But it normally spreads over an 8-week period, and this year it was over an 8-day period. So it was a challenge. I'm getting a little older and I'm starting to feel it. Well, what we did, the owner David and I sat down several months ago and we looked at the program of the wines that we currently make, the wines that have been made in the past, and what wines we may want to make in the future. And then we say, okay, these are the vineyards that we currently have under contract. How much of each tonnage do we want from each clone, from each variety, from each region, from each vineyard? And start going out to those vineyards, seeing what's available. Can we expand on one contract? Do we let another one go? What do we do? And we came up with what we thought our best program was to bring in 80 tons this year. And, I think we brought in 62 maybe. Mm. So, I'm going to have a lot less to work with this year than I had set out to do. But some of the fruit looks fantastic, so I'm pretty excited about it. But it's very difficult to say, these are the wines that we want to sell 3 years from now. This is the tonnage of grapes it's going to take to do that. Go out and contract those and then be able to pick and manage and maintain every aspect of what it takes to go from that grape to that bottle 2 to 3 years from now. It's really, really challenging. This year was going to be the perfect year that we hardly had any fires at all, but we had intense heat. Now, is that really going to make a difference on how that fruit is going to evolve on the vine? The jury's still out on that. The flavors were there, and that's what's important to me. Is you can look at the base chemistry when you're walking through a vineyard, and you can sample the grapes, and you can send them out to the lab, and you can look at the numbers. But what does the fruit look like? What does it taste like? And what is the vineyard going to do? And that you really don't know that until you start making the wine out of it. What we do is we pick our favorite vineyards that we already have an established relationship with, like the Radian Vineyard down in Santa Maria, Lompoc area. Phenomenal fruit, some of the best Pinot Noir I've ever seen. And we expanded our contract this year, and that was one of the ones that we got everything we anticipated, which was really, really good news. Right. The Biendecito Vineyard, which everybody knows is famous. Okay, we were supposed to get 6 tons of Pinot and we got 2. We were supposed to get 3 tons of Chardonnay and we got 1.5. So, trying to grow those contracts and get more fruit in a challenging year, there's nothing you can do about it. You don't get a chance to go back and get more ingredients. It is what it is. You get what you get, and we start thinking about next year already. It's different than a lot of other people. I have no real formal wine education per se. But I was sort of drawn to the consumption of wine and the collecting of wine at a pretty early age. I was living in Arizona at the time and was doing fairly well, and decided that I really liked food and wine, and I was going to travel extensively to be able to learn where different wines come from all over the world and start to collect those wines and drink those wines on a regular basis. So I had 15 years of wine consumption from all over to learn all about how they're made, why, what different regions do and different varieties. I learned quite a bit before I even started to decide I may want to buy some land and start planting some grapes, which was something I thought I wanted to do in Napa in the late 90s, and then started looking around the real estate market in Napa, and every year I thought I needed a little bit more money. I'd go back and it was times 10. Yeah. And it became what it seemed to be an unreachable goal. So just on a whim, came through Paso Robles, looked at the terrain, looked at the area, looked at the real estate market. Everything about it was just saying this is the place. So I started buying land here in I think the end of '99 and beginning of 2000, and planted my first vineyard in 2003, and dry farmed grapes for 15 years before I grew the winery, sold it, and semi-retired. And kind of followed one of my other passions, which is flying old military aircraft. And I run a local museum in town where we have all, out the Paso Robles airport. It's called the Estrella Warbird Museum. And that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years until I met David, the owner of this place, and we became friends. And he was like, I don't really think you're done in the wine business, and I really think you should consider making wine again. And I really think that, it really would make sense for you, So we started drinking some wine together and really talking. And I think it was about his philosophy on what he wanted to do with this brand, the contracts that we had, some fruit that I never got to work with. When you have your own vineyard, you pretty much deal with your own vineyard, and you've got a little bit of source fruit outside of that. But when you're out buying grapes everywhere, you have the ability to try all kinds of things you wouldn't normally get to do. So I was enticed by the fact that I'm getting to make wine out of vineyards that I've been drinking for years and years and years that other people made. And that's what brought me back in, was to be able to make wine out of vineyards that I thought really, really had it going on years ago. And all I could do was buy a bottle and drink it. And now I'm buying truckloads of fruit from them. So that's why I'm back. It's natural to me now.
Yeah.
In the early days, I had no idea what I was doing. Fortunately, Paso Robles is one of those areas where it wasn't like, oh, you want to buy land and grow grapes and you're on your own. It was, let me help you. Let me show you. Let me loan you my tractor. Let me teach you how to do that. I mean, it was incredible, the people that just took me in when I moved here and taught me everything they knew. It was fantastic. And I had a lot to learn, but 20 years went by fast, and now I feel like I know quite a bit. And I guess I had a few games left in me because I'm back. It's just something as a young child that, my dad was in the military and he was into planes, thought they were interested. So we would go to air shows when I was a kid, and he'd explain, well, this is what this was and this is what when it was used. So I've always been interested in that. And when I first moved to Paso Robles, and some of the people that got me going in the wine business were into aviation. So they were like, hey, I think that you'd be good at this too. So we spent a lot of time together and learned to fly and started, heading out at the museum that was very small at the time at Paso Robles Airport, and got involved with that, got on the board of directors, helped them grow that, started buying airplanes and started flying to air shows. And 3 years ago, we have one of our airplanes, me and one of the other guys flew it all the way to Normandy and then on to Berlin and back. So we were gone for 3 months.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, flying the North Atlantic in a 75-year-old airplane is,
A little nerve-wracking?
It was a little nerve-wracking, but, we made it. So, and that was kind of, so I spent, about 3 to 5 years doing that almost as a full-time thing. So, and now I'm trying to sort of dabble between the two. And as a matter of fact, we're sort of merging my two passions. And like next week, we're having a wine dinner at the airport. I'm going to fly all the customers around in the plane, and then we're having a wine dinner in the hangar. It just kind of shows I'm more than just about one thing. So, And I think it'll be interesting and exciting for people who have never done anything like that before. Probably the Hawker Sea Fury. I mean, it was a race airplane, and we were really fast, really close to the ground, and things happen very quick.
Wow.
Some of the stuff I fly, it's vintage, it's old, it's kind of slow and loud and lumbering, and it's pretty. I don't want to say easy, but it's a lot easier than the fighters. The fighters are really fast, and it takes a different mindset to be able to do them. cordantwinery.com.
You did that like you knew it.
Yes.